岁月、环境、规则 ，LPL 在不断改变。6年中，有许多人问我，你为什么还在坚持？这局游戏对你究竟意味着什么？
全军出击！
我见过最美的风景，也听过最热烈的欢呼。为了所有这些，我愿意付出一切。
这局游戏是一段旅途，有人中途停留，也有人会做到最后，而终点只不过是另一个起点。
50的血量，50的血量！
我不懂那么多是非曲折，这局游戏赢就对了。
이번 게임의 낭만은 0부터 100처럼 무명에서부터 이름을 날리는 것이다.
我从来都没有后悔过自己走过的路。 这局游戏的魅力就在于创造奇迹。
많은 사람들이 전설을 보는 것에 열광하지만 다른 사람들이 그 뒤에서 흘리는 땀에 대해서는 잘 보지 못합니다. 하지만 이러한 땀이 없었다면 저희는 다시 이곳으로 돌아오지 못했을 겁니다.
欢迎来到英雄联盟。
会变的是人和环境，不变的是游戏最后的胜利画面。
我明白，这场游戏就是成王败寇。
但是不到最后，我不会放弃对王冠的追逐。
这局游戏需要牺牲，无私奉献，去成就团队的胜利。
他还需要领袖，不管遇到什么困难，都和同伴一起扛下去。
是我最喜欢的玩具。
LPL 需要年轻的力量，是时候让我们来接管比赛了。
想成为这场游戏的主角吗？打败我吧！我们的时代还远没有结束。
Welcome back to the English broadcast of the LPL. We are in Week 8. Day 6 is our last day of Week 8. However, we still have 2 more weeks of action coming your way before playoffs. And that means plenty of more chances for the teams to try and decide their own fate moving into that one. And of course, today, this will be our long day. It will be 3 full best of 3s coming your way, including our match of the week, which will be Royal Never Give Up versus Invictus Gaming. My name is Richard Cam. I'm going to be with Clement Chu. How are you, Clement Chu?
I'm doing fine. I can't wait to go to Chengdu in playoffs and try some of their spicy hot pots.
Yep, that's what I'm looking forward to, though. I'm not so great with spicy food myself, but I'll still give it a shot. So, moving into today, of course, we've had lots of changes in terms of our standing, especially over the last couple of days, as many teams have come in with a couple upsets. The other day, we saw JD actually pick up a win against RNG, and then yesterday as well, we also saw LGD pick up a win against Suning Gaming.
Yeah, the big things to note here that Vici has been officially eliminated from playoffs. On our standings today, Snake and EDG, they're still 2 matches away from clinching their own playoff spots. And OMG for us, they have to win every single game from here.
They do, but they are still able to make playoffs as of this moment, Clement. So yes, they can still make it happen, but they will need to make the miracle run right now because it has not been going well for them so far in this split. However, Invictus Gaming and Rogue Warriors, you can see, are currently clinched for playoffs. Not the spots, just playoffs itself. And we can take a look at today's matches. We'll be starting today off in Chengdu with EDG facing down OMG in their home arena. Snake will be taking on Vici Gaming in their home arena in the Snake Pit. And Invictus Gaming and RNG, our match of the week, will be here in Shanghai.
Oh, and definitely all eyes on the final match of the day, IG versus RNG. This is IG's only loss so far in the split, and it's also going to be the one and last time that Uzi is going to face off against Jackie Love.
Yeah, their only blemish right now was the 2-0 over RNG managed to pick up the 2-0 over Invictus Gaming.
2-1.
The 2-1, and then they've only lost games against LGD and FPX since then. So really would like to try and get the revenge. As you said, Uzi will be facing down Jackie Love, the last person I feel like will be on Uzi's hit list.
Oh, definitely. You know, Uzi's been saying all split, if you want to go through the crown, you have to go through me.
Indeed. But let's go ahead and talk about our first matchup of the day, which is EDG versus OMG. I'm going to start this discussion talking about OMG because we really have to start here. OMG have definitely had their own fair share of struggles, and this is a far cry from the team we saw last split, who were our Rift Rivals representatives.
Yeah, they didn't suffer a single loss before Rift Rivals, but this split they're currently probably on watch for the worst team in the LPL. They've already lost to Vici and already lost to TOP, and we do have to talk a little bit about why that is, especially in the Vici games we saw so far. So OMG, they have doubled down on their win lane and win game type of philosophy. You can see here they've gone for the Echo against the Azir and also the Shen in the top lane against the Sion just to get things going. But however, they just aren't clean enough in the mid game. Teams that like to go late, like Vici and EasyHoon on his Azir right now, they're able to weather the storm, and when they come back, OMG's compositions just aren't meant to teamfight or do well as a 5-man team.
And even though they had the massive advantage in this game versus Vici, it's very rare that they even have an advantage at all in their games. So even with the advantage, unable to win from ahead, and that obviously spells very bad signs for OMG.
Yeah, and that's another big thing about OMG. Even though they have this philosophy of win lane, win game, they don't have the jungler to do it. They're currently sitting at the last place in terms of first blood potential, 33% in the LPL. So the junglers just haven't been doing for them. They have 3 junglers currently. They're all more passive junglers. They're not really junglers that take the first step. However, we have seen them kind of double down on starting World 6.
But the important thing that you said there, Clement, was the amount of junglers they have in the jungle role. They also have a top laner in the form of Casual, and in the bottom lane they have Maestro behind 5, who will be playing today as well. And it feels like they are just trying to search for answers by just throwing different members at the team. We never really see the same consistent lineup that we were expecting coming into the split.
Yeah, that's one of the big things I really worry about OMG. If you've seen the Bronx story, the worst thing to have is wasted potential, basically, and this is what they're doing. They're spending a lot of their time trying different pieces, but not really getting any to stick. And it does go, if it goes on further, it does seem like sort of wasted time, you know? They're not getting anything out of this split.
And then we have to look at their opponents today, EDG, who will be a mammoth task for them to take down. And they're not without their own share of problems, however. You know, you look to the jungle role as the very obvious weak point for them. Haro has had some unlucky games coming into the split so far.
Yeah, I have a very interesting stat for you about Haro. Okay. So I was looking up on Ray, and he's currently statistically the worst top laner in the LPL. He's down 500 gold at 15 minutes, but I checked the stats and it didn't add up. So yeah, he's not CSing that poorly, he's not dying that much in lane, and his bottom lane also gets the first objectives on the map usually. So what's actually happening is that every single game he's losing about 100 gold just because Haro is giving the enemy top laner kills or assists. And that's so weird. And it's really rare to see in the LPL or any stats. I've been doing stats for 2 years. That's probably the second case I've seen of anti-synergy. There's like dark matter between them that makes them do worse. And it's really evident. You can see that in the games they lost to LGD, in the games they lost to Snake, where Haro just gave up first blood or sometimes even double buff because of a lack of synergy.
Let's go ahead and take a look at OMG's roster. Xiang in the top lane, Firelolly in the jungle, Icon in the mid with Chelly and Maestro, as we said, in support, swapping in over 5.
Okay, so this is 2 rosters away from their normal setup. We're not seeing World 6 and we're not seeing 5, their main initiator on the team composition.
Up against them today will be EDG with Ray in the top lane, Haro in the jungle, Scout in the mid with iBoy, and Mako in the bottom lane.
Just your standard setup. We do have to talk a little bit about EDG and their recent sort of runs. They've really been doubling down on going with their mid-game compositions. They've strayed away from the Azir. Haven't seen the Azir in the past 3 sets. Going much more towards Talia and Ryze. So things that can help set up their mid-game team fights and get Mako into the fight earlier.
But that's definitely important to focus on because Scout can very much win EDG a game or lose EDG a game based on his picks and how he plays during that game as well.
Yeah, and that's my big criticism for EDG so far. They've been dropping a lot of games that they shouldn't be dropping. They've lost against Snake pretty much solely on the mistakes of Scout. They've dropped games against LGD and Top, which we really do see as below EDG's caliber. So this series is really about return to form. Nobody's talking about finals for EDG, but we just want to see them play a clean tempo game that we know they're capable of.
Exactly, because EDG have shown it so far and a propensity to be able to do that, but obviously it's those wild cards in the jungle, in the mid. We'll see if that works out, but before we head to the casters, we're going to hear from Chelly.
EDG 对线的话，就尽量减少失误，不要被对面放大失误点，然后找到突破口被滚进雪球就行了吧。在对战 EDG， 我们中后期肯定不管是做大小龙决策还是兵线的处理上，我们都得做10分谨慎一点，尤其是在大龙这一块。
Being careful and making less mistakes seems to be one way to try and take the game against EDG, but OMG are going to have to do a lot more to take down these giants, because currently they are not doing well in the LPL.
Yeah, OMG are currently disaster stations. They're trying to come back into the LPL, at least finish the split off a little bit stronger than they are currently. EDG, I'm not going to say the cleanest team by any means themselves right now. They are still losing games. It was just mentioned they dropped a game to TOP, they dropped a game to LG. These things should not be happening at all, but it continues to happen for EDG, and there's always that lingering concern that coming into this set, yeah, you might drop one game, but what if you accidentally drop a second that you don't intend to?
To make matters worse, the last time EDG played, they were up against Snake at the Snake Pit in Chongqing, and they dropped that 2-1 as well. So Snake now have the head-to-head against EDG if they're tied on points no matter what. So they're really going to try and pick up as much points again. OMG, however, even though we say that EDG have been dropping games, OMG lost those sets. They lost to TOP. They lost to Vici as well, which means even though statistically they are ahead of both teams in points, they are not doing so well in the head-to-head.
And I do want to bring it back to that jungle as to the reason perhaps why. And the interesting point that Clement raised, which is where I'm not going to contest him because he's correct, but he shouldn't be correct, is that the junglers are playing pretty passively. It's World 6. That man ints at level 2 half the time. He plays Lee Sin, he goes into your jungle and he has a crack immediately. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's his identity. And they've been trying with 3 different junglers. For me, I think it's good that they're trying 3 different junglers. They know it's a problem that they're trying to fix. But it's still a problem for them. It's still the place that you would have to explore. And this is one of those sets where I'd actually look at it for OMG and say maybe it's not a major disadvantage. Maybe this isn't the worst set for them possible if they're mismatches in the jungle. Well, EDG don't have the strongest jungler currently. He's a newbie. He's still just running around, learning and getting his feet down in the league. He doesn't know where Clearlove is at the moment. Perhaps he's breathing down his neck trying to teach him. There might be some words of wisdom there. But EDG's jungler still has a long way to go in terms of learning. And maybe OMG can hold on through the early game as a result.
Yeah, according to Clement, EDG jungler right now, his job is giving his top laner a hard time in every single matchup he can play. OMG, they started the split strong though. We have to remember that because their first few games, they picked up a couple of wins and they looked decent. The only win they've had recently was against LGD, who have had the same trajectory as OMG so far.
Yeah, they started the split off okay, but it has been a whole lot of downhill for them as we are into the pick and ban phase for game 1 here, Fish.
And already right off the bat, Xayah as well as Alistar being taken away here by OMG. Xayah, one of the highest picked 80 carries internationally at the moment, with Swain and Tahm Kench being taken away by EDG.
Yeah, the Xayah being banned. The Alistar also going with it, a lot of bottom lane focus away from EDG, which is something that just makes a lot of sense, and it's the biggest place that you want to be focusing, as that is where EDG will be putting all of their resources and focusing themselves. The Xayah ban, of course, removing the Xayah Rakan combo, but more importantly, removing Xayah the champion seems to be a much higher priority.
OMG will ban out Rise, their final ban in the first phase, picking up Sejuani as their jungler of choice. EDG's final ban was Gangplank, denying Xiang that pick in the top lane.
Also note that nobody should ever get a Swain ever again in League of Legends, but we've said that before, and we will probably see a Swain in the next sets today. People think they have some counter plays there for it, some countermeasures in place.
Potentially.
So they say.
And with Xayah being banned out, you normally look towards KD carries like Caitlyn or Varus. EDG have played a couple of games of Varus in their last few matches against Snake. And that's going to be the lock-in for iBoy in the bottom lane.
And I like this priority as well if the Braum's locked in alongside that. The support role is something you'd be going towards right now. Sejuani Braum is a super strong combo.
Yep.
The 4-hit passive duo. On the opposite side, though, knowing that the Alistar's banned, the Braum's locked in, the synergy isn't going to be cohesive and perfect for OMG with the jungle and support anymore. But something like, actually not even the Tahm Kench is gone. I wonder where Maestro's going to go, and if it's the Shen, perhaps just the weakest possible version, or if it's the Leona.
Yeah.
The hard engage.
Which OMG have been playing a decent amount of recently. So let's see if Maestro does go towards that champion. But you're right, denies the combo of Sejuani and Braum. Instead they go towards Thresh as their supportive pick in the bottom lane.
That's a very different choice. Of course, we've been seeing a lot more Thresh lately. Still a decent champion, but you have to be very good at the Thresh to make it work.
Yeah, he's won 2 out of the 12 games that have been played in the LPL.
Yeah, it's statistically unlikely that OMG are going to win this one now, even further than it was before. In saying that, for a second I had a very
Look,
big
it's
concern.
Fire Lolly. Anything can happen. We'll have to see what the final pick for OMG is going to be in the first phase. Sion gets locked in. 2 beefy tanks already picked up by OMG.
I mean, it's a decent composition when you look at it. Usually you'd be seeing the Thresh traditionally with a Skarner right now. The LCK is running rampant with that combo. That's not the case. They go towards a Sion and a Sejuani. That's still a lot of engage from OMG. A lot of frontline, a lot of tankiness, and they have reserved their carries for later on into this draft phase. I mean, that does still leave them open to a lot of bans targeted against them if they would like. Right now, the AD carry position would be the one that I'd be looking towards if I was EDG.
It's probably what they're going to ban out during this ban phase, but they picked up the jungler for Haro. Olaf gets locked in. We've already talked about Olaf quite a bit this week. He got a slight buff, which has helped him out a bit in the jungle.
He's got a pretty good jungle clear as it is.
Yep.
Goes up against the Sejuani. Should outpace, should be able to perhaps get a slight lead in clear, and it's up to Viololi in this case to change things up.
Nice pick as well when you look across from the side of EDG, and the first 3 picks that OMG have pack a ton of crowd control. Olaf's able to negate that with his Ragnarok.
Yeah, he was considering Skarner as well, so opts away from the Skarner, wants the Olaf. I respect that, but he also doesn't know who the carries are from the side of OMG, so perhaps he has an inkling of what's to come.
And EDG seem to think that it's going to be a mid lane sign for Icon with the Gnar ban first here. Camille is the first ban that comes out from OMG.
Either they think that or they don't actually know. That's just the beauty of a flex pick in general, so.
With Ezreal being denied here by EDG. Varus doesn't have too many lanes that he doesn't do well into.
Not a lot of champions left for Chelly, and perhaps the Tristana is the place that he'll have to look towards now. He will have to reveal that all at the exact same time as to where that Sion is flexing towards as they finish off their bans. But the first pick, the second pick phase does go over to EDG. And I have a feeling that they would be going towards their mid laner here. They're picking something up for Scout. The Talia is the one that comes to mind.
OMG ban out Cassiopeia is the last one, so that's not going to be a pick for Scout in this matchup. It could be the Talia pick for Scout.
Could be a lot of things. Of course, not just the Talia, but with the Cassiopeia gone, there is still an Azir available. Rise gone means that Azir does actually rise up even further in priority, and we know that Icon can play it if he wants to.
So they don't go for the pick of mid lane here, instead leaving Ray's pick for last. Makes sense because now OMG have to show where the Sion is going to go. Is it going to go into the mid lane or on the top side of the map?
I mean, they're going to have to show it regardless. I think the reason they've gone for this is they picked the Ornn, the safest possible top lane option with a gangplank removed and everything. So limited counters available against Ray, as we do have our second Kaiser.
You can already hear the crowd at the OMG Arena in Chengdu. Chelly's picked up Kaiser. Second time it's going to be played here in the LPL. And this is patch 8.5. The buffs that came to Kaiser are not active yet.
Yeah, they're just really feeling the Kaiser. Of course, one thing that you can note from the LPL is a lot of these players compete on the Korean solo queue server as well, so perhaps they've got some experience with the new Kaiser. They've had some time at least to scrim and practice with the old one.
And you were mentioning the Azir pick for Scout. That's not going to be the case. Icon gets picked up. I was wrong in saying that Ray got the last pick here. It was the Ornn pick in the top lane. So Scout gets to see where that Sion was going instead. Now he knows he's up against an Azir, and it will be a tank in the top lane. He can pick his champion of choice.
We'll have to see. I would assume it still commits to this Talia unless he's got some extra plans against something like the Kaiser, but not to be seen. We finish off our team compositions. OMG with a bit more of a wild card thrown into the works here. Now they know the Sion is going towards the top lane for the tank battle. They've picked themselves up a very low-ranged AD in that role, but they do have a lot of support for it.
500 range is what Kaiser has in 8.5. I mean, to compare that, Jinx in minigun form has 525. Jinx has higher range than Kaiser at the moment. It's next patch where she starts to get a little bit overtuned. A lot of people think that she's a bit strong there, but still 8.5. Second time is going to be picked here in the LPL. We're going to have to see what Chelly can do with Maestro going for Thresh in the bottom lane as well. They could potentially be looking to try and kill Fireboy early on.
Yeah, the last time we saw the Kaiser, of course, whilst we take an extra second to appreciate the champion lock-in here from Chelly, it was with a Tahm Kench. It was not with a Thresh. And the biggest thing that the Tahm Kench was able to provide, of course, that was Rogue Warriors, is that SMLZ is always going to go forwards.
It's true.
Tahm Kench is there to tactically reposition him by gobbling him up at the correct moments. A 500 range AD carry, you know it's going to get caught at some stage. Crowd control will just find the marks. Sion's Q range is pretty close to the same thing as the auto attack there. So ultimately, it's all about how can you assist in the repositioning. I have a feeling this time around for OMG with their complete composition, it's a little bit more about standing in front of the Kaiser, perhaps flanking, getting rid of the carries, getting rid of the people that can kill her right off the bat by forcing some awkward team fights, or just playing a very stock standard front to back and ensuring that she's free to hit tanks. I believe the concept here is kill the tanks.
And we can dive deeper into the Kaiser pick as soon as we head on to Summoner's Rift, but still, for EDG, they're going to try and grab as many points as they can. They're looking to try and take down OMG in this best 3 series, and OMG fighting to stay relevant in the LPL at the moment. It's do or die for them right now.
Big OMG game.
Big OMG game. They're live from Chengdu. It's a packed arena. We're going to go get on to Summoner's Rift for game number 1. OMG taking on EDG.
A lot of EDG.
Plenty of EDG fans in the arena at the moment.
They're still going. Calm down. Thank you. Nice little early ward place there. Of course, that's the first thing that you'll see as we do get onto the Rift.
A pink ward.
Yeah.
I believe that was picked up by Ray.
It was.
Ray doesn't have any other items.
No, but he started with a refillable potion and he's an Ornn. So, for those who don't know, Ornn can purchase items in lane. He has started with a control ward this time around, which is definitely unorthodox. Not something that you were used to seeing. But what he can do is he can start in lane. He can try and clear the wave. It's a Scion, so there's no level 1 kill threat. But from this point, he'll still be able to purchase himself some items if need be. Now, it's not just going to be the first wave purchase an item. It's going to be about 350 gold, and he can't even get the Corrupting Potion. As EDG, they're starting off with an invade.
They know that Science at the top side map, the 3 wards that were placed down spotted him out, and they invade onto the red buff, denying that away from Sejuani. In fact, Hara says, thank you very much for the leash. I will take that. And EDG, they've already placed down 4 wards. We're not even 2 minutes into the match.
They know where everybody is. They just watched the Sejuani go over to the blue buff via their control ward they placed earlier. And now they know exactly where he's going to be. Yep. That means they know exactly how much they can take from the jungle. And this, as we mentioned earlier, is an Olaf against the Sejuani. Someone that jungles a little bit quicker, now has an edge, has a lead, and is able to make that even more severe.
Top of that, we had zombie wards being picked up as well, so they're able to track Sejuani for a little bit more time, for an extended period of time, I should say. Taking a look at the mid lane, Scout did pick up Talia. Icon went towards the Azir, which we thought could be an EDG pick in this matchup. And moving on to patch 8.5, he was nerfed very slightly.
We did mention that Icon has played the Azir. In fact, recently, EDG have moved away from the pick, where OMG have still been happy to lock that one down for themselves. So it's not a major surprise that this is where the mid laners have wound up with their champions of choice. What I like the most, however, is that they've committed to the Talia. They haven't gone back to the Azir, and that's pretty stock standard based off EDG's entire team composition, which has a lot of mid-game focus. Now, the 2-item spike for them is very powerful.
Especially in the bottom lane. When we have Varus, he'll go towards the Rage Blade, and he can throw a mix of items as his second pickup. He's up against a Kai'Sa. I believe we're the only league to play Kai'Sa at the moment.
Yes, we're the only major league to have played Kai'Sa. It was picked once in Latin America South and was a victory. It's only the Kai'Sa we have seen. But, of course, it was even a victory here from Rogue Warriors the other day.
Undefeated so far, basically. OMG predicted to win this match.
Best champion in the game, currently, even on this patch.
But what we were saying in Champion Select was Varus doesn't have too many matchups that he can't go up against. Xayah was one of them that could kind of take it to him. And then you had Caitlyn, who, although did well in the matchup, would lose out once that first item gets picked up by Varus. He's very strong in lane. He has 575 range and has a lot of harass up against a Kai'Sa, who is incredibly low range as well.
Yeah, you would expect that this lane is just comprehensively won by EDG if they choose to win the lane, right? It depends on the goals of EDG as a team, and notoriously, they do want to do it, as here we go.
But OMG have other plans as they flash on top of iBoy. He's not going to be able to escape from this. Ignite's being used on the Chell. I think Mako thought he had Exhaust right there, but they just burn all these summoner spells on the bottom lane with that gank.
That's actually such a big whiff from Fire Lolly. He chose to go aggressive. He chose to find iBoy, and yes, they get 4 summoner spells, and that's a big win for them. That's nice to have, but he misses the Q. The Sejuani dashes and just hits Braum, and then they don't get a stun passive off. The amount of time that he had to auto-attack the Braum and chose to go forwards to iBoy unfortunately means that they won't get themselves anything more than just the summoner spells.
And you can see the keystones who are being picked up by Kai'Sa in the bottom lane as well. Fleet Footwork being picked up as the main keystone. We have Gathering Storm as well in the sorcery tree.
Of course. As is now the competitive meta, and very rarely will you see that anywhere else.
Who knew that LCK was right all along from the very moment that the season began? Gathering Storm overpowered.
I feel like we watched a meta diversify towards Gathering Storm. I don't think they started with it outright. There was one team, Fish, that always had it because they always go to 50 minutes in the damn game, and that's the only reason that we see it at all.
But in this match, moving back into EDG against OMG and away from the LCK, Haro again still trying to invade against Fire Lolly. He's 10 CS up, he's a level up now, and this early game plan that's come out from EDG is working well for them. They're about 700 gold ahead of OMG just 5 minutes into the match.
And I will admit that whilst the gank didn't net them the kills in the bottom lane, it gives OMG a little bit of extra pressure when this Sejuani is around, simply because there are no summoners to keep EDG alive. But they'll still control the lane, and when you mentioned the jungle being accelerated, that's definitely the case through the start, and is accelerated only further by the fact that they did bring the Sejuani down here to attempt to get a gank off, which slows down even more, gives more time for Haro to take some camps away, and you can see him even right now moving forwards, attempting to net some extra vision control and maybe even look towards a bottom lane dive
That's what they're going to do. Scout's level 6.
Oh, no.
They jump on the wall. Maestro just went to war. Doesn't spot them out in time. Scout now is trying to save Chelly. Takes the lantern, but he gets flicked back by Talia. Chelly's now in trouble. One more attack will stun him. He gets taken down. Can he get Maestro as well? Scout will pick it up. Throwing another rock. 2 kills to EDG.
The perfect scenario for EDG is that they find Maestro warding in an attempt to stop this from happening. I think the ward that they placed just near the Raptors, you can see it on the minimap, was spotted by OMG. And they just didn't respect how quickly EDG would be getting down there. And with no hesitation, they intended to dive.
On top of that, iBoy was constantly pushing in Chelly into the turret. So he was being denied CS from that turret. And now another wave gets denied. iBoy's 55 CS to the 37 of Chelly. Already at an item disadvantage as well. Pickaxe gets picked up.
I think the thing that I like the most about that particular trade is how actively they gave the kill to iBoy, and then Scout's able to net the second one with just an auto attack. So the little details going so well towards EDG's carries, the place where they want the gold to be is now there, and that only accelerates the game further. Remember that Scout did not use the Weaver's Wall. He did not use his ultimate. It was just the blast point.
On top of that, Fire Lolly's been pinned down from level 1. Haro has had free control over this jungle, and EDG are still trying to turn up the heat and make sure he can take nothing inside of his own jungle. A level up, they're trying to take blue buff away as well. Scout, Mako, they're both here. iBoy is close by in case they need him. Red buff is gone.
And this is a point in the game just before everybody ticks over to level 6. Our jungler is level 4 from OMG, so he is super far behind. But the mid laners have just ticked over to 6. They're at 7 now. Top laners, they've got the teleports coming up. They've got the ultimates. But when you look at EDG's bottom lane as the 2v2 before it hits 6, I would much rather have a Braum and a Varus than I would a Kaiser and a Thresh. I think this is something that aids to it only even further. EDG controlling the map. They control it better pre-6. OMG are just holding on, trying to scale up in levels before they even consider making that big play.
Scout's on the way bottom as well. He just rotated away from Icon. Has Weaver's Wall available. We'll pick up a bit of honey fruit here, but it's going to be difficult if he tries to execute a dive.
He's just hungry.
OMG are playing very far back at the moment.
They're trying to look towards mid lane, so they have to respect the bottom lane. Sion even moving towards the red buff.
Blast cones over the wall. Smite gets used. Instead, Icon's going to jump straight on top of Scout. Flashes away. Can't Fire Lolly lock him down. He's still only level 5 with Sejuani. Flick back underneath the turret. Heal gets used. Teleports into the mid lane. Weaver's Wall cuts both of them up and knocks Sion back as well. The on horn gets sounded. Scout's throwing rocks, but Haro picks up that kill with an axe. Still moving down. Still trying to chase them away, but EDG get another pick.
The use of the long range ultimates from EDG just made that look so clean, netting themselves a kill in a situation where they were on the back foot. Scout still had heal that entire time, so they weren't going to be able to dive him. They try and back away, but it was too late. The teleport's already there. They are just on form right now.
They made a play on the bottom side of the map, and EDG are already rotating down to the bottom lane. Scout is a little bit low, so he decides to go back to base instead. Mako will clear out the control ward that was placed down by OMG. Haro trying to counter jungle, gets hooked up by Maestro, but gets what he came for. iBoy takes a small Krug as well, denying Fire Lolly more of his jungle.
Actually miscalculates how much damage he was going to do, Haro, with the Reckless Swing. So he still gets it with the red buff, but he doesn't get it immediately. There was a chance of a steal from OMG. That's what they were looking for. And of course, it's not going to happen. The jungling continues. Scout, yes, he came down, he placed a ward, he showed face, so to speak, but his health bar was still invisible to them, so they weren't sure how low he was going to remain in that situation. OMG respect it. They can't look for a fight, but you're seeing that it's just going to slowly bleed over. The towers are getting low. It's going to happen mid lane soon as well. And if this bottom lane outer turret goes, EDG are unlocked. They can now go top lane. They can do what they like.
All started from that jungle play at level 1. Denying Fire Lolly red buff means that Haro was able to be more aggressive, and the spillover effect, as you mentioned, turrets are low. Bottom lane is clearly in EDG's favor. iBoy's 96 CS to the 64 of Kai'Sa, and we still yet to see many proactive plays from OMG yet, besides the telegraph play of the swoop that came in from Icon in the mid lane.
If they're a team that wants to play early game, then they can't afford to have early games like this. And I wonder if that's just simply because EDG had too clear-cut of a plan coming into this game, that there was no counteraction available from OMG, but they didn't draft themselves an aggressive early game composition this time. They picked themselves up the Kai'Sa, they've gone towards the Azir, they want to hit 3 items, start scaling up and hit some big team fights at that stage in the game. Their composition would be quite good at that. This time around, however, I really don't know how possible that's going to be. They're already 4,000 gold behind. Only 1 turret has been taken.
Yep. And the first turret goal went over to iBoy as well. He denied more CS away from Chelly, waited for that turret to fall naturally, has got himself a rage blade as well.
Chelly's still sitting on 2 of the components for that Rage Blade. OMG respond to the Dragon pick by EDG to try and go towards Rift Herald instead.
But speaking of the Rage Blade, of course, a lot of Kaisers have seemed to be up in the air with what the perfect build looks like. A lot of the time you'll see a BF sword and a pickaxe, or a BF sword 2 long swords if they want to optimize their AD values to evolve the Q. This time around, though, it looks like, anyway, that he is going towards the Guinzoo's Rage Blade. Kind of has to by having the recurve bow. And that's a clear sign that he wants the Guinzoos to do damage, and he's not too fussed about evolving any of his spells.
Yep. On top of that, you have to remember Kai'Sa evolves her spells through 3 main stats: AD, attack speed, as well as ability power, which Guinzoo's Rage Blade provides all 3 of.
But it doesn't provide enough of them.
Not enough.
To actually evolve anything. So it's the halfway type of item, which is really tragic when you're in a losing game. You probably could have went a BF sword.
Scout, however, is going to get locked down again in the mid lane by Icon. Everybody from OMG is here. He uses the stopwatch to try and stay alive, but there's just 5 members in this mid lane. Poor Scout.
Yeah, OMG, very good rotation. They have the Herald buff as well, but Firelord is choosing not to summon that one. There's just so many numbers here to make the play. That's good from OMG. That's very good catching out Scout. It doesn't result in the structure. I feel like the Herald could have came down. iBoy was still pushing top lane.
It takes iBoy away from top lane, though. He tried to rotate down into the mid lane in case EDG needed him, so he didn't get enough damage onto that turret to get it low enough to be taken.
I just don't think that's enough, unfortunately. You can move iBoy away from top lane, but look at what's happening right now. Yeah, they moved them. It was 30-odd seconds, but Haro's now got control of the top side. He's looking at the blue buff that's about to spawn. No one's going to stop this turret from going down. Best case scenario, I think there was a trade, even if it was an inevitable top lane turret going down. Breaking mid lane outer is still valuable.
Still haven't used that Rift Herald. Still hanging, Firelord is still hanging on to the buff. Finally gets some peace to clear out some of his jungle camps. 12 minutes into the match. But 12 minutes into the game, and EDG are 5,000 gold ahead of OMG.
He does get some time. A bit of Serenity, he can meditate at his Krugs if he wants fish, but his blue just got stolen as well. So there's no part of his jungle that is just going to be absolutely safe without a trade happening on the other side of the map. That's what you like to see from EDG, constantly pushing the tempo.
And it seems like OMG have one final play to make, which is defend the mid lane outer turret. It's the last outer turret standing for them. If they can force a fight and win against EDG, that'd probably be the only way they can come back into the match at this point in the game.
Khan's already on a side lane, though. I really wonder if that's what they're going to... I mean, they have to, right? But I wonder how they're going to do that, is the point that I'm making here. They can try and force a fight, perhaps. Use the Sejuani ultimate, the Sion ultimate from a flank from top lane is always going to be very valuable as well. But he's recalling at the moment, so it doesn't look like he wants to flank. It looks like they'd have to play it front to back. But from that situation, playing front to back against how fed EDG are, I don't think they mind too much. Braum can just stand in front of all of the fed carries.
And EDG are still trying to split apart the map. You can see Banner of Command's being picked up by Ray, so he can drop that down on the side lane and make it difficult for them to deal with. Scout still split pushing in the bottom lane, whereas they park their AD carry and support in the mid lane to constantly put pressure on that mid lane outer turret. But here we go. Slowly OMG are grouping up towards that mid lane, and EDG are doing the same.
Haro's onto them as well. The flanks are secured by EDG, and that's the biggest thing. Haro goes there first, Scout goes there second. And all of this, of course, remember the Weaver's Wall cuts them off in the mid lane if he wants to commit to it. But it's more that they're pulling them apart through 2 different lanes by utilizing the jungle where they have control of the area. So they start mid lane, they start bottom lane, and then they collapse into the jungle together as a team. And then from that point, they could be anywhere. Right now, it is mid.
Weaver's Wall thrown down into the mid lane. That just cuts off OMG, so EDG looking to try to take the turret without forcing a fight. Scout and Haro do rotate over. Turret's going to fall. Ultimate gets thrown out by iBoy. Flick back. Maestro has cleanse, but it's not going to be enough. He's forced to flash as well. Sion trying to rotate to get a fight going in the mid lane. Rift Herald gets dropped as well by OMG, but EDG get that final outer turret.
Yeah, the Herald buff probably just timed out and they chose to throw it into the middle lane. It does stop any kind of pushes from EDG. In fact, it's going to push them back towards their turret, and it's going to get a charge off, but it's not for a lot of health. But Maestro, no health for himself. Way too low. They can't commit to it at all. They're going to have to just concede that the Herald was out of time. They just used it. They might get a recall from it.
And that means EDG, they're now 6,000 gold.
Oh, you cheeky devil.
Ahead of OMG. Banner Command was used, so it's going to chip away the top lane.
Yeah, but he started it early. They both have. Animals.
Sion's got it as well. They're just trying to push. They go against each other in a push war.
Of course, when one has it, you have to have it. You know what you do then? You raise them as easy rot portal. You just get as a rot portal. challenge them, because you can't beat a Zarot Porter with a banner of command. It's the same thing. You have to match fire with fire.
If that starts happening, at what point does Yorick start becoming the top lane pick to go to?
Hopefully never.
We've already seen it once.
He just summons an army of minions. He's got ghouls, he gets Herald, and you can't stop him from pushing. Put it all in a side lane, go to another lane. Why am I talking about Yorick?
Was it OMG that picked up Yorick? I can't remember now.
Well, they picked up Aatrox and lost with it. Why not? Let's just say it was them. Let's just...
We have seen Yorick
Do you want me to look it up?
We have seen Yorick played once in the LPL. Looked good, wasn't successful. I believe it was EDG as well that were playing against it. However, now they're looking to try and lock down Icon in the bottom lane. He's split pushing in the side lane, is level 11, and although only Scout is here right now, the rest of the team is slowly creeping their way down.
There's a Predator.
Predator's on his way. That's Flash being burnt by Icon. Does he have the slide to get away from this? It's not up in time. Ragnarok comes through, and a flick back from Scout gets that kill. They're looking to try and pick off Ray, though, who is stuck and caught amongst 4 members of OMG.
Yeah, Ray on the wrong side of the map with the rest of his team diving bottom, somehow in the middle of the river. Gets himself caught out of position. That's really tragic for Ray, and it does stop any kind of major wins for EDG, but you have to remember that we're at 17 minutes into the game, so there is no thing like a Baron that you'll be looking towards. So that makes me even more confused as to why Ray was where he was, but it also gives a free objective over to EDG on the flip side as they're next to the Mountain Drakers. Oh, we get to watch him just gallivanting. He's just trotting around through the river.
He was going for a stroll.
Lovely
walk.
walk.
There were 4 members of OMG.
It's sunny outside. Why the hell are they all here? Well, you see, Ray, when your enemy team is missing and your allies are on the bottom of the map, don't be there.
I think iBoy gave him a question mark ping after that death as well. Does give OMG some time to take down the top lane outer turret. So Weaver's wall gets thrown into the bottom lane. We'll separate OMG, so EDG get time to take down this turret. Hook is not going to connect. Minions have died, but EDG still get the turret.
Yeah, they're not concerned at all. Talia's walls have been fantastic so far. Scout, this isn't the first set that we've seen it. Last time we saw him play the Talia, of course, his walls, but just as fantastic. He's proven how good he is on the champion. Just makes you wonder why we don't see more of it. He's played it in previous splits. We know he's good at it. He shows that he's got pretty good form on it today.
The push wars in the top lane continue. It's banner of command constantly being used by Ray as well as Xiang. Xiang going towards the Abyssal Mask first here on Sion. Still patch 8.5, so the ranged nerfs have not come into effect just yet.
So that won't really affect Sion all that much. It will at max range of all of his spells, being a 350 aura radius. But he'll still be okay. He'll still be one of the few champions to pick it up. In fact, I was having a conversation with someone about this the other day, and the conclusion is still that Abyssal Mask is too good of an item, statistically anyway, let alone the aura. Like, why would you not? This is sad. Thank you. He worked it out.
He got there in
200 IQ Sand Soldier right there. That's actually very sad to watch.
Going back to that top lane matchup though, Xiang also went towards the Glacier Augment. Some quite late in the game to talk about Keystones here, but not going towards the Comet. We've seen a few top lane matchups where Sion does. It seems like On is going to be another one.
No, Glacial Augment is the easy matchup against tanks if you want to step up and get free auto attacks, slow them down and guarantee the Q hits. Leaves you open to a million more opportunities for trades in lane and gives them a little bit less counterplay as well.
Didn't see any punish of the On in the early game coming out from Xiang. Oh, we know that On can buy items, but starting with refillable potion is not something we've seen for a few seasons now.
Yeah, I would have liked more punish from Xiang, perhaps even Fire Lolly being up there, but at the same time, EDG, they warded him out completely. They knew exactly where he was. If there's one thing that Ray excels at, it is not losing lane outright. He's very good at playing like a turtle.
Especially when Haro never has to go towards top side of the map. He can't feed the enemy top laner, but they've actually found a fight underneath OMG's inner turret. Is this a good fight for EDG? Because it doesn't look like it. iBoy is in a lot of trouble. Chelly gets in the backlines. Kaiser coming up massive there, picking off the AD carry. Ray's trying to find access to the backlines. Haro's going to fall as well. OMG, they're starting to win this team fight. Can EDG somehow turn this one around? Ray's trying to charge in and get a kill for himself. Xiang looking to try and get into the backlines. Now double kill picked up by Icon. That might just be enough for OMG to start getting back into this match.
That was incredibly messy from EDG. iBoy was tanking the turret at the start of the fight, but it was a nice collapse. Chelly using the Kaiser ultimate very nicely, getting himself on flanks, and OMG as a team, they're 7k gold down at the end of winning the team fight, but they still win the team fight. It just shows how perfect the situation was for them to be able to do that at all.
We were complimenting Scout's use of the Talia wall, and again, it was a good one. It separated OMG, but iBoy decided that he wanted to start a fight.
And of course, we do get to watch the good part of this first. Scout very nicely cuts them off. They do go forwards here, I believe. Varus is the one to initiate this, so he's going to be tanking the turret. And he's still tanking the turret. And he's still... And there's a side. Oh, God. He's got no health left. That's just really unfortunate for EDG. He's the one major damage source of the team alongside Scout. And now that he's gone, Ray and Haro are going to have to try and do a lot of work themselves. And they're going to get Maestro. That's a nice little consolation prize as an end result, but they pay their lives for it as Icon and Chelly free hitting the entire time.
Great punish by Chelly as well, recognizing that he can jump into the backlight, snipe Ireboy, flash away from the tanks of EDG.
It was very good.
They're still 7,000 gold behind, but that's just poor form from EDG. It's the mistake that you can't make. EDG are looking to try and see if they can find a pick to secure this match for themselves. Haro as well as the rest of the team are going to throw out, but don't get anything for themselves there. Can't find anyone from OMG in the mid lane.
Yeah, I don't think that was a full committal attempt at any kind of engage. It was very half-hearted. Haro just runs at them aggressively. EDG, though, they have got the vision control. Scout's going to cut them off.
Another great Talia wall. It's going to cut off the rest of OMG. Can fire a lot of fine access to the back lines. Kai'Sa connected. So is he going to try and jump in? Hook goes on, but they don't go through. Sion just trying to zone the rest of the team, but OMG don't get anything for that. They still go for the fight, however, against EDG, against the Baron buff, now trying to disengage.
They have no follow-up, Fish. They're not going to be able to go forwards. OMG just have to walk away. That's a clean Baron secured. There will be a turret trade, though, from OMG. They'll try and get what they can for this and punish just a little bit, but very nice take from EDG. That's a very good way to come back into the game after losing a team fight.
Besides that last team fight, has been a very clean game from EDG, all the way from their level 1 strategy to the use of Scout Sully as well, which we said have been phenomenal in this match so far. Ray is going to have the banner of command, Baron minion in the top lane, taking out top lane in a turret while the rest of his team recalls.
You know what, speaking of, we watched Chelly just kill it, but if it had a Baron buff and it was an extended ranged cannon minion, there's not a lot of chances that a Kai'Sa has to walk up and hit that minion at all. 500 range is very small.
No rapid fire cannon being picked up by Chelly either, just sticking to the Hurricane with the Gwynsu's Rage Blade.
And maxing out on the attack speed, going for the Berserkers, Greaves as well. So I think that is about a Zeal away from evolving the E and having the invisibility, if memory serves.
Which Ireboy has at the moment. He's a Zeal up ahead of Chelly, picked up the Wit's End second instead. They're going to try to mitigate the magic damage to the top side of the map from OMG.
I mean, there's still a major lead. 2 Mountain Drakes is big for EDG as well. We've got a Baron buff closing the game with 2 Mountain Drakes. Should be more than enough to get them extra turrets here during this trade. But we've seen what OMG can do when it comes to team fighting. And we know how overly aggressive they have been playing this EDG. So there's a chance, but that's what you're looking at, because this is a last chance draw.
Again, another banner of command. Banner minion ready to chip away at this turret. Maestro throws out the hook, but that's a Banshee's Veil that's going to get popped there. So doesn't get anything for OMG. He's forced to flash away, and EDG are just waiting for this turret to fall. And there's nothing OMG can do. They're trying to force the fight. Finally jumps in. Chelly tries to get into backlines of Scout. Instantly flashes away. Haro will take down the jungler. Chelly's still trying to kite this one out. Good damage coming out from Kai'Sa. Isn't it enough though? Tags may go in the backlines. EDG are fairly low. Ireboy is fairly healthy. But that's enough. That's going to be enough to repel EDG from pushing for the inhibitor.
Amazingly, OMG just rammed themselves at EDG, and the health bars are blinking. They're low enough that EDG are going to have to go back to base. They're going to have to try again. They will pick up the Ocean Drake on the way out. And you saw how much damage Chelly is able to do to the Olaf. One of the best things that you can have right now in this matchup, especially as the game scales, is Olaf running at a Kai'Sa is most likely just going to be dying. And there is a lot more importance on the rest of the team being there alongside that. Or crowd controlling, of course, to lock her down. But so far, I mean, we've got to 2 items. We're getting closer to 3 items. That's what OMG want for themselves. And at that point, you do start to look at the team fighting and feel like, you know what, they're in with a chance. With a very good chance.
Let's see what Chelly can purchase when he goes back to base here, because he has farmed up quite a bit. He is still behind Ireboy. Ireboy just went back to base, picked up a rapid fire cannon, as well as a pickaxe. BF Sword is the purchase from Chelly.
Note that Ray isn't auto-attacking and last-hitting any of those except for the one caster just at the end. I think he is trying to make this push as slow as possible. That is a lot of minions, and the more that he can slow down the push, the more time that EDG have to rotate.
That's cheeky from Sion though, waited inside the brush. Chelly's now going to rotate towards the top side of the map. Ray's forced to charge away. OMG don't overcommit. And Baron buff has now expired for EDG. Hook lands. Mako does have Cleanser.
And I have misspoke. There is already an evolved E on the Kaiser with the attack speed that she has. Perhaps there's levels in play that I wasn't thinking about.
You also have Gwyn's Rage Blade buffing up attack speed over time. Could be after a few auto attacks.
Doesn't count.
Oh, it doesn't count. Unlucky.
No, intentional. Definitely shouldn't count. It'd be pretty crazy if it did, actually. Imagine all the extra AP.
You evolve and then you don't have it again once the stacks fall off.
Yeah.
I thought that'd be cool.
I did as well. It's intentional, so whatever the reasoning, here we go again from EDG.
Tilly as well is going to separate 3 members of OMG. They go for the fight instead. Xiang trying to charge away, runs into the wall, but it's FireLolly, their first pick of the fight. They get that kill. Chelly still trying to kite away from Haro, getting good damage now, but the rest of his team is dying around him. iBoy gets the second kill. OMG are still repelling EDG at the moment. They get them down to about half health. Xiang charges up the Q. Chelly finds access back towards his turret. That might just push EDG away again.
There are so many tanks from the OMG roster that with Maestro and FireLolly dead, the Scion is still here from Xiang, but the tower looks like it is going to drop this time at the very least.
Finally, EDG are able to take down the mid lane Inhibitor turret. Inhibitor is going to be their next target. OMG decide not to step back up, waiting for the respawn timers of both their jungler and their support. EDG get the Inhibitor, now they're going to try and disengage.
And that was definitely cleaner from EDG this time to get the inhib, to be able to get more than one kill, not just some damage, and to stay healthy enough for themselves, particularly through the carries, to be able to afford to step up, to be able to look towards those further objectives. So with the inhib down, the game opens up just that little bit more for them and becomes significantly easier. And as a result of that, it does make it harder for OMG to actually come back into the game and continue to scale up themselves, though the mid lane inhib is the easiest one to defend for everybody on Summoner's Rift.
Credit to OMG though. They have been 7,000 gold behind since 12 minutes in. They've held out against a Baron buff, and they're now 27 minutes into the match against EDG. Yes, it is now a 12,000 gold lead that EDG have. You
would still say it's fairly insurmountable as a gold lead goes. And speaking of, when you look at where that gold lead is reflected, Fish, we could take a second to look at the items. That is a rapid fire cannon, soon to be Infinity Edge build for Varus. He started to change up the build, and usually you'd look at that and say, well, we have too much magic damage on our team. We've seen it from SMLZ on Kog'Maw. That could be said for this game as well. He's gone towards the Wit's End, which is nice to have the magic resistance. Works well with the Gwyn's Rage Blade as well for attack speed. But now he's completely changed his build up, gone towards the crit, wants to maximize his physical damage and allow extra strength in the composition, especially when they're snowballing. It means that a Scion, a Sejuani, a Thresh, all of these tanks that are there can't just stack one type of resistance.
Top of that crit is a lot better against these tanks, which OMG have 3 of. Will work well once he finally gets that last Whisper, but for now just relying on the Wit's End to shred the magic resistance.
And the W, of course.
And the W.
Has a whole lot of damage amplification on that.
Ooh, they try to catch up. Chelly, good use of the Lantern, gets him back to safety. It's an ultimate being burnt by Ray as well, trying to find that engage.
It's all about zoning OMG away, however. The Baron is up in 3 seconds. There's also a Mountain Drake in a minute 50 if things go awry here at the Baron. EDG's biggest plan, actually he was just spotted, so I don't think this plan will work.
They know exactly where iBoy is, so they should know that EDG are grouping up around that brush. Xiang as well as Chelly are stepping up quite far ahead. They catch him. Chelly is in trouble. Locking him down to Winter's Bite, takes the Lantern back to safety. Ultimate thrown out by FireLolly. Only connects onto Mako. Starting this team fight slow. Haro's already taken a bit of damage, but both teams just want to disengage.
Yeah, that was rather odd from FireLolly, trying to go forwards whilst the rest of his team was disengaging. I believe Chelly actually turned invisible at the time that he got picked out of position by iBoy, as OMG still out.
Maestro's in trouble. He walks a weird direction, gets taken down. Talia Wall separates the team, allows EDG to disengage and make the way towards Baron.
Gives them a clear path up the river. Now note that there's no wards from OMG going to be near the Baron buff itself, as long as EDG are in the pit. It's very clear now. It's super controlled. It's going to get taken down very quick.
OMG going to look to see if they can force a fight. FireLolly can't find access to the pit in time. OMG now forced to try and run away and retreat. Mako taking a bit of damage, jumps back to his teammates. Chelly gets flashed on by Haro. Ragnarok gets used as well. Chelly is dead. EDG pick up the kill, and they're chasing down to a final 3 members of OMG.
Too many tanks, too much damage. Even the Horn coming out. They want to follow this up and get extra kills.
Well, Icon's able to flash away. Can't drag his way back into the base. Scout's chasing him down. Mako follows through the Winter's Bye. Scout gets that kill. EDG are just going to try and push towards the Nexus.
Yeah, with this, it should just be the game over and game given to EDG. OMG very disconnected in their team fight. Of course, forge yourself an item first before you're able to finish this game off. They got the Baron. They should have the tools.
A single mistake was made by EDG in one team fight against OMG, but it didn't matter because from start to finish, they had a game plan. They executed it incredibly well. They're looking for more kills before they finish the game on top of that. Sion's the final member standing at the Chengdu Stadium. Doesn't matter. EDG, game number 1 goes to them.
And it's the result that we expect. Of course, EDG against OMG. And the current form of both of these teams should indicate a very easy 1-0 start to this series, and that is what we'll see. But there are still some very positive signs from OMG that have to be respected and have to be acknowledged. Because for the most part, their team fighting looked a little bit better. They drafted for it. And whilst they didn't have the laning phase they would have liked, EDG had a very good early game plan in place, starting with a control ward on the Ornn as well. Going towards the enemy blue buff, invading the red buff. Something that you don't often even see in competitive games anymore as invades in the first place. They make that work. They get too large of a lead, and Scout just goes insane.
One of those positive signs was Chelly. Chelly played well in that match and picked up the Kaiser pick, which looked good for him. Wasn't enough. It was nowhere close to enough. But this is an AD carry who has faced a ton of criticism throughout this split.
I mean, he's replacing SMLZ.
That's true.
That's a pretty
It's
hard...
difficult.
Yeah, it's a pretty hard place to come in for SMLZ's current form. You've seen him on Rogue Warriors Fish, so I can understand why he's getting the criticism, but I do agree with you. I think he played very well alongside Icon.
And you'd have to think if EDG didn't have that level 1 strategy, but if they were not able to shut down Fire Loli in the jungle, it could have been a much different game, because that opened up a 7,000 gold lead for them, allowed them access to the jungle, and they still lost the team fight. They still looked like they could lose team fights late game as well, besides the fact that they were 10,000 gold ahead.
And I will have to say, I think the problem in this game was still the Sejuani, whilst EDG played well around the fact that they were trying to find her, trying to perhaps scale up, get the Olaf a lead in the jungle position and start to suffocate the Sejuani out. Still consciously going towards their gank, mechanically misplaying in that gank as well, and suddenly even further behind. And even in the late game team fights going forwards when everyone else is going backwards, you can see a very clear disconnect between him and the rest of the team. And for what it's worth, OMG, they've got 3 junglers. I'm not surprised the disconnect's there if they constantly alternate between them and swap and change, but this was very noticeable.
It certainly was, and although OMG had their problems in that match, it was still a relatively clean game coming out from EDG in game number 1. Let's send it back to the analyst desk to break it down.
Thank you, Fish. And a clean game it was. There was a couple blemishes on that one. OMG were able to make some plays, but in the end, EDG had a pretty solid game ahead of them, Clement, and did start off in that champion select. I'm glad we got to see Scout on Tiller. You know, I feel like this has just been one of the best champions for him recently.
Yeah, it's great because he can really think about what he's going to do with the champion. You can see him setting up plays, and that's what I think Scout is really good at. He's not the best reaction, just run into it with your face kind of player, but when he can set up plays, he's really terrific with it. Now, I want to talk about a little bit about how EDG is setting up their ban pick. When you see here this champion select, it's basically all about the bot lane. They want to go in on the mid game. They have the 2 best bot lane killers in Olaf and Talia, and also pick something really safe for the top lane in Rain. So the focus here is very clear from EDG. It's mid focus, it's bot lane focus. But for OMG, I kind of like their answer here. Their answer is basically, we're going to go take the game later than you are. We're going to go with the Azir pick. And it's really clever how they set that up. They took the Sion first, which can flex into the mid lane, and then they secured the Azir for themselves. However, it didn't work out for them, and we do have to go into why.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we did see better champion picks come out from OMG, because usually there have been a lot of problems in drafting, even heading into the game for OMG, though they also picked up the Kaiser. And I was definitely a little bit scared about this one, because we've only seen SMLZ pick it so far. This is pre-buff Kaiser as well, but we did actually see a change up in terms of his build.
Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting things that we can do with the Kaiser. There's 2 main builds we see right here. One is the SMLZ build, which is Essence Reaver, IE into Fire Cannon, which gives you a lot of AD, and then you crit. So you want to do a backline assassination like he did against the Varus last time we saw. But there's also another build that's really popular and also very interesting. You go Death's Dance, Nashor's Tooth, and Guinsoo's Rageblade, and plus Berserker's Greaves. That actually unlocks all 3 of your second skin passives, and I call it the Plasma build, because with the Guinsoo's Rageblade and the on-hit from Nashor's Tooth, you can use that Plasma so often. That's 21% missing health every 3 seconds. That's a very, very powerful build, and we did see a little bit of Chelly trying to go for that. That would have given him a late game answer. You can play that build as a split pusher. It's very good into tanks because of that HP damage. However, I think he did diverge from that build just because he was never going to split push.
Yeah,
so
he fell really far behind.
Yeah, he went for something that could take down the 3 frontliners from EDG, the Hurricane, and Guinsu Rageblade basically using the Plasma again to take down those 3 beefy frontlines.
Yeah, I like the adaptation coming in from Chelly. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough in team fights, but clearly the thought process was there. Now, this did start off again in the early game from EDG. You were saying it's mid-focus, but also bottom lane focus. Historically, though, that's been a problem for EDG, not being able to execute on that with Haro. However, this time against OMG, it did work.
Yeah, and this is just a very clean continuation from the level 1 sort of invade. They cleared out the jungle. They knew when Fire Loli was going to be on that side, and they also secured the vision behind the red buff. That's the key vision ward from EDG. If you could only allow EDG 1 control ward, they will always place it there, because that gives the route from Taliyah and the Olaf to move into the bot lane. And we've seen this so many times from EDG. They're so clean on that play, and they're going to continue to do this. It's going to be up to OMG to answer.
So what was the difference in this game compared to the other games that we've seen from EDG? Because typically it doesn't work because enemy jungle is tracking Haro and they just literally follow him down to the bottom lane. Was this just a case of OMG losing track of Haro?
I honestly feel like this game they did a lot more planning just from the level 1. They bought the control wards, they set up the level 1, so they made sure that there wasn't going to be equal invade in the top lane, and then they went from the bot, and then they played around that. So this was a much more structured kind of fight, and I think in those structured scenarios, both Haro and Scout can play much better. They're not chaotic players. You need a game plan for that.
Exactly. Much better setup coming out from them, and a lot of that was also from Scout, who will be picking up our man of the match on his Taliyah. And every single time he plays the Taliyah, good things will happen. Not only did he deal a bunch of damage, but his walls were fantastic.
They were immaculate, trapping up the jungler that came in from the gank, giving them the first kill, and then also outplaying OMG's Icon and Fire Loli at the same time. I just think you should always pick Taliyah for Scout. Like, it's his best champion. It's very hard for him to fail on it. So just go ahead, keep on doing it.
Yeah, keep on picking it until teams start banning it against you, because so far, really good stuff out from Scout. For that, though, we are going to send it to a quick break before getting into game number 2.